Chase.
I'm Weston.
I'm Marcelo.
Welcome to Trash Talk.
Welcome to Trash Talk, episode 52. Jesus, get up. Welcome to the episode of Trash Talk. Today is a pretty awesome episode. Here's the first three-man review for Arc 6. A couple more to come as well. So, yeah, what's the game we're reviewing today?
Limbo.
Alright, so Limbo came out, funny enough, so this is, I want to say, August 8th that you guys are watching this? We're filming this episode July 20th, right? July 20th? Tuesday 20th. Sorry, July 20th of 2016, obviously, but funny thing is the date on which the game initially came out, because Limbo has a very similar release date story, like Super Meat Boy from the last episode, where initially it came out in 2010, July 21st, 2010, so we almost by one day, we're one day off from
Its 6th year anniversary.
for its 6th year, yeah.
Tomorrow, from after showing this, it'll be...
From us filming this, yeah. It's gone across all kinds of platforms, and
Still not for the Wii U though. So
it's coming, but not just yet. They don't have released a specific date for it. It's TBA at this moment. So eventually. So.
I mean, it started off on Xbox 360, right?
Yeah.
So 360.
Yeah.
I personally played it on Steam. That's how I got into the game.
I got into the game via Xbox One.
And I got onto it through the PS3. So very different platforms.
And so
That's
saying
kind of
that,
cool.
you can see that it's, I mean, of course, it's a pretty popular indie game. Since they continue to release it even on the next-gen consoles,
Yeah.
even after it's already been released on the previous generation. So,
It was developed and published by Playdead, which is an appropriate name because this is Limbo. So maybe this kid died and then went to Limbo. We have theories and we'll explain them by the
Some
end
of them
the
legitimate, some of them stupid.
yeah, it's very open to interpretation. And so, even if you just kind of look online, you'll get all kinds of different theories that people have of what's going on in this game and like why he is where he is. And answers all those kinds of questions.
Yeah, so you guys can totally have your own reasonings as to why these things happen in the game and why he's even going through all these, but we have our own as well, so we'll be explaining them by the end-ish of the review. So let's get into what we can gather, that being said, of the story.
Basically, the story is this kid's in limbo, and then he's just going through puzzles.
It's a puzzle platformer, so...
Yeah.
So of course...
There is a goal in mind.
There's the goal. He's trying to find his sibling, who I believe is his younger sister, because they are separated. So he has to go through this limbo where, like I said, puzzles, but of course it's a very dark, and you can tell that by kind of this theme, and we'll get into that later. But he has to get through all kinds of puzzles. He has to get through like obstacles, creatures, enemies, all kinds of twists and things that no longer make any sense, like against the laws of physics, and he has to pursue through all of this strange things, all this confusion to ultimately try to get to his sister at the end. And that's basically the purpose of this game. There's no dialogue to introduce you to this story. You basically just kind of wake up in the grass, and it looks fairly innocent from the beginning, and it very quickly gets very dark.
Crazy and all that.
Yeah, and you realize, whoa, this is going to be a very interesting adventure.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's...
I mean, one way that it starts up kind of is you get chased by a giant spider early on. So that's fun. That's cool. And it's wanting to murder your ass. At some point, or eventually dead to the spider, it impales you with its freaking claw and all that stuff. So it's just like, ooh, okay, I'm not playing a little kiddie game.
There are very few... most of what you go against is not actually like creatures. It's usually like objects like saws and things like that. So it's more of an obstacle course rather than like a running away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't fight enemies and collect points and all
No. I mean, there are some collectibles.
Yeah, I don't know what they do, but apparently, I'm not sure. I think it's supposed to like open up an epilogue or something. It's something. It does something. I'm not too sure because I haven't collected them all. But they're in. The game never tells you about them, and they're in. Some of them are pretty easy. You can see them, but you have to figure out how to get them. Others you wouldn't even know where they are unless you really looked and did some outlandish shit to get to like a secret off the path point where they're hidden.
Yeah, and it kind of plays into, like I said earlier, that it doesn't really explain the story to you. There's no dialogue, no character ever speaks. There's no text. There's not even voices or sound. The only thing this is like basically ambiance, really, and a very eerie soundtrack, which isn't really a soundtrack. It's just kind of.
It's kind of a bit of a plug. It's ambient music, and I actually mentioned Limbo in one of my top 5s on Destination Mark for ambient music tracks in video games. So it's we'll get to that when we get to soundtrack. But the one thing I just want to say is like it's super atmospheric and it's really good.
Yeah.
But that's basically it for the story. Yeah, they don't give you.
We're already kind of keying into the gameplay here, so.
Yeah, so going into the gameplay, it's like we said, it's a puzzle platformer. So there are segments where you're jumping, timing your jumps.
Yeah. Avoiding obstacles. Like I said, a lot of obstacles. Like I said, some of the puzzles are like moving around boxes, playing with physics.
For sure, you found that to be really fun.
A lot of timing. You have to make sure you're timing things correctly. Dodging saws, like there's a lot of moving obstacles, big, because you kind of have like different, just like any game, you have different areas that you go into. So like you might be in the forest, or a factory, or kind of like the city-ish area. And so depending on where you are, the obstacles are different, the type of puzzles are different, and the types of things you're gonna have to do are different. So the gameplay changes as you progress.
They introduce new elements every so often.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And so this game is not hand-holding at all. Like I said, because there's no text or voice or
What a
anything,
good game
there's not even a tutorial. You just go.
What a good game should do, in my opinion.
So
and then as well as jumping, you also for Square for the PS4, from what I was playing earlier, or you press Square to grab stuff, and the purpose of that is that way again, so you can line up stuff to where you need them to be lined up, because there are some timed puzzles involving boxes. One thing for certain
crates, levers,
or boxes, and allow you to grab stuff.
Gravities, all kinds of other things.
Yeah. One of the first thing you'll grab is a bear trap, and first one it's pretty easy, jump over, so you can jump over it. But then they set up two, and you can't jump over two of them. So what you have to do is you have to grab one, move it away to where you can properly you can actually properly space out your jumps to avoid them.
So of course, this is the very beginning of the game. This is just kind of introducing.
So yeah, it's introducing you to a lot of the concepts that you'll have to be utilizing very early on in the game.
One of the things I like, I'll be saying this throughout the review, is the attention to detail in this game, because one way you can tell if you can grab a thing or not is the boy will do a little soft, or I call it soft, like small animation, where he reaches out his hands, and if you don't press the button, he'll reach it out, he can grab it.
He'll usually,
Then you grab it with...
He'll reach out with his hands, or he'll even kind of look around a little bit. Not a lot, he's not like doing this kind of stuff, but he has a little bit of head movement as well.
Yeah.
Nice attention to detail.
And then another way you can tell like if something's grabbable is that it usually has some sort of handle on it with a lot of stuff. Like with the crates, for example, and the bear traps, they have like little handles in which you can grab. So that's another indication that you can grab that. And when you jump and try to grab a ledge, you have to not only, it doesn't automatically grab the ledge for you, you have to time that. Or else you're just gonna jump into it, but you're just gonna fall back down.
And you just fall,
So I guess that sort of brings us to another thing, like how are the controls for this game? Like how do you feel?
The controls are, I wouldn't say stilted, but one of the words would be tight.
I agree, they're pretty tight.
Because the jump isn't like a jump, it's just more like a little hop.
Yeah.
The kid's not Mario.
Yeah, you can't double jump. You don't even have anything out of the way of attacking. You don't attack anything really.
No.
You can pull off like the spider's legs and all that.
You run, you jump, you grab, and that's basically everything in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
And like I said, none of it is crazy overdone. You're just a little kid, you know what I mean? And you're not, and it's not done in a cartoony way where you're supposed to be like Mario, for example, where obviously he's jumping really high. No, like you jump a normal human kid's jump, you know.
Yeah. Another thing is
not that high.
The game does have, except for like those physics breaking moments and all that stuff, the game requires a lot of it requires a lot of timing, and then also how things respond to stuff. If you move something up a slope, it will slide down at a certain point.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, if you want to jump to a higher thing, like it gets out of your reach, you can use something. There's like panels that move down, and so while the panel's moving up and you jump, you get a stronger, a little bit of a boost up. And
Yeah,
you can reach
and then
things you normally wouldn't.
when there's
so
like
more
chain-
physics
yeah,
incorporated.
and then when there's chains or rope in the area, you can swing it to where, you know, you can.
They really help you in
yeah.
some legit, like in some straight up puzzles. They need you to do that.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are physics based. So you have to kind of take into consideration. Again, every detail counts. It's the smallest details that you need to be aware of. This game is more of an experience. We should have said that first and foremost. You need to take in everything around you in this game. You can't just go in thinking, I'm gonna jump and attack a thing and then go and do it. It's just puzzles. It's puzzles.
It's strictly a puzzle game. It's kind of.
But you have to take everything into consideration. That includes hearing as well. You were doing the part near the end of the game where at first you have a straight up, you hear the clicking of the timer when the anti-gravity, before the anti-gravity when you're upside down, before it reverts back to normal. Later, the music takes over, which we'll get to in a little bit. The music takes over, it kicks in, it's strong, and all the sound effects get muffled and mute. Then the soundtrack, now that's part of the music, which is cool. But it helps you, so you have to hear it because that's your timer.
Yeah.
So, really good. Really, that's awesome. It incorporates everything so it all connects and feels like one thing, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
So with the gameplay out of the way, I think we should talk about the aesthetics of the game.
fucking amazing.
The aesthetics from what you guys can see and all that stuff is very monochromatic. There's not a lot of color to this game. In fact, there's only 3 colors. There's black, white, and then variations of gray.
Yeah, it's basically just a black and white game. Really.
Yeah.
But they make the most out of what little they have in terms of the color, in terms of all of that.
I mean, you can still very easily see what's on what level plane.
Yeah.
You know, because the background behind you, it's not, and even stuff passes you in front of it. It's like it's a 2D game.
Yeah.
You move left, right, up, down, like Mario in a way, right? It's that kind of style of game, but there's levels to it, so you can see what's behind you, and even sometimes if you change like anti-gravity,
it's
you can see the background change. Like the background is also
certain big crates or objects in the background will also go up.
Exactly, and so you can also see that. So like if you're walking through a cave and you want to get that feeling, they'll sometimes have things on the wall, like screen effects almost. So it's in your way.
Yeah, it comes past you, but it's all blurry, and it's just all there to add to the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Very atmospheric.
Yeah, because the game is it's a puzzle game, but it's very atmospheric. It's very dark. It's very and they really and of course with the ambiance and all that. And that's kind of where I was talking about the theme is that it just really gives it. It just really works with what they were trying to do. Like they accomplished their goal with the aesthetics.
One thing I wanted to say very quickly about the controls, just real quick, and it goes into the aesthetics, is fluidity. So what I started to say earlier was the controls do feel a little tight, but it's still fluid. So it works for how you're saying what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Same thing with how you progress in the game. Because like Chase said, you start in the forest, we transition to the city, no loading times, by the way. The only loading times there ever are is if you die and then you get sent back to like the past screen you were at. Besides that, there are virtually no loading times in this game.
Yeah.
There's another game we'll talk about that has this kind of fluidity to where how you know what I'm talking about, to where when you travel from place to place, but there's loading times.
Yeah.
And I told you, we'll get to that later in the arc. But for this game, there are no loading times, and you go from woodlands to city to factory and then back to the woodlands. But at least this is what I got in my first playthrough. I really didn't even notice until a little after it kicked in, and I really saw where everything was spatially, and then I looked at the aesthetics. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not in the jungle anymore. I'm in like a fucking. There's a hotel sign, so they're in the city now. And I'm like, oh, so either that's me being impressionable, or they did a good job with meshing. It feels like a world.
Yeah.
And again, without any color, they still succeeded. I don't know how they did it, but the area started to change. It slowly changes. When you hit that transition moment, you'll see some things come in that don't seem like they belong there, but then the trees start disappearing the more you go through, and then by the time you know it, you're like in the city. Then you're in the factory, and so it's really good the way they did it.
Yeah, and then with the character himself, and with the other characters and all that, there's not a whole lot of detail to them.
We're talking about soundtrack.
Oh, we're talking about the soundtrack right now?
Yeah, we're talking about soundtrack. That was aesthetics.
Oh.
We haven't had a flub in a while. You're good. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, well, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the aesthetics.
Oh, so that's aesthetics.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about characters.
Well, no, with like the character.
With him.
Well, no, with the character's design. I thought how did we end up on soundtrack?
I don't know. Oh, sorry. Go on.
You were the one that flubbed.
It's because he's following the list of what we're doing.
I know, but with the character design, like there's not a lot of detail. Like the only really thing you can see is the basic outline and like the eyes of the character.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's not a lot of detail with the characters themselves. How even with the spider that chases you, I mean, you can see the individual okay, you can see the outline of the spider, but there's not really a lot of detail to the spider itself.
And even the outline is pretty detailed. Like I said, they used the gray really well to try and put on the small little details. But you can see like it's not just a spider. You can see that it's like a big tarantula, because it's hairy. You can see that detail. You can see that it's hairy. You can see it's not silky, right? And you can tell that, and they do it well enough that you can see that. And it's really good that they can do that. So even though it's such a basic color scheme, black, gray, white, they can still put so much detail into what is being shown. You know what I mean? And I think they did a really good job of being able to do that.
The one thing I like about, going on the boys' design, the one thing I like about that is that it adds to the mysticism of the whole game. You don't know where you are, you don't even know who you are, because you don't see anything on him besides his eyes and his basic shape. That's kind of it. So it's open to interpretation of who are you even playing as? Like, who are you really? It's not so much as the game isn't existential, but these kinds of questions will just naturally pop up because it's what you're seeing on the screen. He's not detailed. So who really are you playing as? It's up to you. Of what he looks like, you know? So
yeah.
I mean, you know he's a little kid.
Yeah, it's not an internal question. Who are you as a person? No, but who are you physically? What you're looking at as a person? It's up to you.
So with that out of the way, now we can talk about the
soundtrack. Sorry that I flubbed, okay?
You flubbers.
Okay, mother flubber. So anyway, the music's fucking. Who composed this? I didn't look that up.
And like I said, we kind of went into it a little bit.
Talk about it. I can't look it up. Never mind. We're just time.
It's mostly ambiance, and it's ambiance
so
soundtrack.
Good.
It's not music. You know, it's not.
In the traditional sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, traditional, yeah. Like with how games have like soundtracks, all that stuff. It's kind of more of the music's used for like ambiance and all that.
And that also kind of plays into what Marcelo was saying earlier, is there's no load times. The whole game is more or less just one giant level if you just don't die.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Of course, they have a level select screen, but like I said, it just brings you to certain points, but there's not really levels because you don't really feel it. You just go through, like if you never died, you would go through the whole game without experiencing a single load time.
Yeah.
It would just be basically one giant level. And so with that, the way they change it slightly as you progress works really well, you know. It doesn't just like cut out and then start a new track, for example.
Yeah.
Like the whole game just flows, you know. Even the soundtrack flows.
Yeah, and the music doesn't even. It's not even constant. There are many, many moments. The majority, I would say, at least 70% of the game, there's not even music.
It's just dead silent.
They're smart and precise with how and when they bring a track in, and it adds to the ambiance. Like how you were saying, in that mechanical part with the factory, when the area starts to shift and change, and you have to try and make sure you don't fall anywhere you're not supposed to be. and then a crate falls down, and then this music plays. It's not a funny, ironic, like, oh, but it has this kind of like atmosphere of like a holiness to it. Like, hey, you're safe, but now you gotta keep going, so, keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, it was done really, really well. It just fits the theme, and of course, like you said, most of the game doesn't even have a soundtrack. Probably not most of it, but the majority of it, at least. Exactly. But that in its own right is good too, because when you're trying to get a dark theme, sometimes it's best to have no sound. That's the best way to fit that kind of dark, eerie thing, is being quiet. I mean, I'm sure, like in a horror movie or even by yourself, sometimes the scariest thing could be hearing nothing. You know what I mean? Hearing nothing.
Mysticism.
Exactly.
You know what's coming up.
So really, and those things, all you hear really is your footsteps. Like,
yeah. And then the ambient noises in terms of like critters chittering,
or like
off
a
the
box
side.
falling down, or
Yeah. And you have to hear that sometimes. Sometimes to confirm that you know that a box off screen fell somewhere that you can get to, you'll hear it in the forest in the beginning. You have to get on like a branch or something. There's when they introduce the bear traps. There's one that you can't get to yet, but you have to do it, and you'll hear it clatter.
You'll hit the ground.
So
Yes. The puzzle will be like way off screen,
Yeah.
and it doesn't like move the camera over to like confirm, like
Yeah.
you know how a lot of games do that. It's like
Yeah.
you finish the puzzle and then the screen
It
goes,
shows you how you
and
did
then you watch it happen.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't happen like that. You have to listen for it to know that you completed.
When a game does that, you
whatever
know
puzzle you did.
it's going the extra mile. When it doesn't just have you stare at a thing, it makes you use your other senses.
Yeah.
Mainly just to.
So that's what makes it a good puzzle game, is
know.
because you actually have to, like, you have to think that much harder. You
Yeah.
know, really be observant of what's going on around you. And that's usually what probably gets you killed the most, is you're too slow the first time around to observe something, and you're like, oh, that's what I was supposed to do. No, it's too late. Ah! And then you get sawed in half. You fall down a cliff. You
You get
get
your head
smashed.
That's brutal.
You drown. I mean, there's all kinds of
It's
things.
brutal.
Yeah, exactly.
You can
get
turn off-
gunned down by a minigun.
You can turn off the brutality because there's a function of it's called like gore factor on or off or
I
some
mean,
shit.
the gore isn't even bad because, like I said, the whole thing is black and white. So you'll see like your leg come off, and
Or your head fly off.
you'll see like you could see like a little blood spatter maybe, or like where like your ligament came out. But like because it's all black, it's not ugly. It's just like, oh, my leg came off. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you have it turned on to its full thing, there's a part when we were doing this where you have to hang on the side, but when you don't know how to do that, or that you have to do that initially, and you just go and try to gun it, the thing will come up and squish you. When it comes off, you see all your guts just there, and it's like it spreads it apart, and it's, oh, if you really pay attention, you can see that.
So
like,
I'm not saying that it's like.
But it's not.
You can see the gore. The gore is there. It's just not gross because of the color scheme they use. Yeah, exactly.
It is there, and it's like,
Again, because of the lack of detail, going back to aesthetics, you can see enough to know, oh,
yeah, you
you
can
got
get
crushed.
Yeah.
But like not to the point where it's like, ugh, I can see it.
So I'm
I mean,
pretty sure if you turn it off, like it won't show.
I mean,
guts
is
or
the game
blood.
rated T or E10?
It's not red blood, so I mean,
That's what I mean,
It
it's
might
like-
be E.
Yeah.
Well, I know.
Exactly.
Might be T.
Yeah. So it's not a reason why
Is this
I
one of those
can't-
Sunset Overdrive thing?
I can't see it being
Yeah.
any higher than T.
What rating it is?
It ain't an M game, that's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure.
That's
I
why
see it
if
being
I had to
T.
put my, like I said, we probably should have looked this up, but if we had to put, if I had to put my money on, my guess is probably E10 because
That's what I'm thinking.
I think
because
it's
of the
T.
dark themes and stuff like that, and little kids would still be afraid by this kind of stuff.
I would say it's a little bit higher, maybe for teen. I would just say it.
But anyways,
Maybe. So now characters. There aren't a
Really?
whole lot
Yeah.
to go over, really, but
you have yourself, your sister, which you hardly see, but only at the very beginning, not even the beginning, the very end.
They
of the
fake
game.
you out near the end,
Yeah.
and then you see her by the end. But whether or not that's her, again, it's so up to interpretation. Whether or not they fake you out once, how do you know you've really done it? Because by the time you slowly goes up to her, it cuts the credits. So I mean, did you do it? Did you not?
Yeah, and the color scheme's still black. It still looks like you're in Limbo in a way.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, am I done? Did I do it? You know? So yeah, so yourself, your sister.
Those little native guys.
Only
other humans you see besides your sister.
In Limbo, there's like almost no humans, and the only ones you see is like a small tribe.
Yeah.
Near the beginning of the game.
Near the beginning, yeah. Because they try to screw you over and try to kill you.
They try to kill you,
it.
and in doing so, they screw themselves over.
They're dumb.
Yep, they're doomies, and they kill themselves.
Yeah, I think they like run, like one guy tries to jump, but then he lands on the spikes.
Yeah.
And then another guy just gets crushed.
Oh, and those worm things, those things.
Yeah, well, the worm things are less
We call them
characters.
characters, but they were more of like...
They're more just a puzzle mechanic, really.
Yeah, I tried to bring them up because we haven't talked about that.
The only other character I can say is basically, kind of bringing it up, the giant spider.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because you see him multiple times, and it's the same spider. It's
He
not
tries
like-
to trap you in his web, and he does, and you have to hop away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he'll try to come after you, and I think he actually does kill one of the kids by impaling them with his
I think
giant...
so.
With
He's really the only enemy that you kill, really, and you don't really fight him.
Yeah.
You just kinda
you run
grab-
away.
You have to get
he
this-
gets screwed while you're running away from him.
You have to pull his legs off and
Yeah.
use his body as like a boulder of sorts to roll it to get to another location.
Yeah, because it's a big round body with legs. So once his legs are off, you can just roll his head.
You can just
Body, yeah.
roll his body and stuff, and then he gets finished off by impaling him spikes. But then you just gotta hop on his body.
But that's
It's
what I
like
mean.
screw you,
So
spider.
cool.
That's really the only thing that you kill. Everything else usually kind of kills themselves. That like
Yeah.
try
Out
to
of stupidity.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you consider you kind of kill the worms that get in your head.
Yeah.
But then you use like
Those
the little
things screw you
biting
over.
thing.
What we're talking about, we brought them up a few times. Is basically like I said, it's a game mechanic where there's these bugs that they dig into your head a little bit, and it forces you to move one direction. He was
The
so
opposite
confused.
direction.
He was so confused the first time it happened. He thought his controller broke.
I thought my controller was messed up. I was like, what is happening? I can't go right, I'm only going left. And
They fall into your head. They make you move one direction. He got confused.
I was confused. I was like, what's happening? I can only go one way. And the thing though is that they don't like the light. So you have to make sure, since you're going to go one direction, and they'll always have a light there in one form or another, be it the sunlight or
Artificial
a lamp.
light.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
lamps and bulbs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that goes with the puzzles as well.
And so going into the light doesn't kill it. It just makes you move the other direction.
Yeah,
So
and the way they get rid of them is there's usually like these little chompy things.
I was gonna call them chompies. Yeah, I was gonna use that exact
and
word.
Yeah. Eat the worms.
not only does it force you in one direction, you can't stop. You can slow down,
Yeah.
but you can't completely stop. So you have to be really careful not to like surpass your
The
objective,
chompies.
I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or time, and you want to be careful about how fast and slow you're going because you want to time yourself right. Or else,
Yeah.
I said timing is a big mechanic in this game, and
Or else you're gonna
throw you
die.
off. Yeah, exactly. And then the way you kill them is there's another animal, basically their predator. It's just like these things. They have no eyes. They just kind of like chomp, chomp, and you just kind of jump up to them and they'll eat it right out of your head. And you're free. And you have full movement of your character again.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of it. Final verdicts.
Oh, well, I guess I'll start. I'll give this game a 4.5 out of 5. It's a really fun game, and the controls are tight. I did get confused by some of the puzzles, but only because I was probably being a dummy a lot of the times. Again, earlier I was grabbing a box and stuff, and then I fell, and then the box is
Oh,
gonna
that
kill
was
you.
funny.
And I'm like, oh my god, no!
He didn't let go of the box and he fell with it and then went clunk and it got him.
Yeah, so again, like the game has to really be precise.
This boy is fragile as shit. One time you moved a box and like great. No, you took the little train car thing with
But
the
yeah,
light.
I'm
And
pulling it
barely
You
backwards
backed it up and you hit the wall, the edge that
to stop myself. So normally it'd be like, maybe knock the air out of you a little bit, but it just
It killed him. No blood or whatever.
Yeah,
he just fell
no,
over.
no.
Oh.
No, he was just like leaning against the wall.
Yeah.
Like Chase was like, what happened?
What?
Like, oh,
I know,
died.
like, why can't I move my character anymore? What happened? And then you just
Yeah.
see his eyes go, You're like, oh, I died.
Shit.
I mean, with some of those deaths, like maybe you shouldn't have died at those points, But
Yeah, that's the one thing. The death mechanic can be a little funny every now and then. Not bad, but every now and then it's a little.
But I feel
But like I said, it's not a huge problem since you basically revert back not too terribly far.
Yeah.
Sometimes farther than others, obviously, but at checkpoints you.
That's just based on
Constantly.
screens. Yeah, there's no checkpoints. There's no visual checkpoints.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
if you fuck up during a puzzle, then you're not gonna start all the way back at the beginning.
No.
You're like, I have to do all this shit over again. No, you just have to do that puzzle over
more or
again.
less just that one puzzle.
Because every time there's a screen, because like there's no chapters or anything, but when you choose a continuing game, you want to continue your game. Once you beat the game, you can go back to whatever part you want. They're not so much as chapters, and they call them that. They're just like screens. With like every two puzzles is a screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Or so.
And you can usually tell the difference between a puzzle because you'll get sometimes they're augmented with like ambient music where they'll be like uh-oh, here it goes, you know, or sometimes there's usually like a small like hallway or pathway of like it's like a transition, you know, we're like, okay, I'm done, what's gonna come in the next room, you know what I mean? So stuff like that. So you can't tell, but yeah, it's same thing, like no load times, it's basically just one long level again. So anyways, what's your verdict?
No, you go.
You want my verdict?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll probably give it a 3.5. I really like the game. It does it well. Like I said, I like the game. The only thing is, for me, towards the end it gets a little tedious. Some puzzles can get a little tedious. And I like puzzle games, don't get me wrong. I play a lot of puzzle games. But I felt personally it gets a little tedious. I had some trouble, like I said, the controls are a little tight, and sometimes that threw me off. That probably killed me more, about half the time, versus the other half of the time was me actually dying, you know. And so those points made it a little rough for me towards the end of the game, where things had to be really precise. The puzzles got longer. It made it a little bit more difficult for me.
Yeah, and then like some of the puzzles were pretty annoying.
So,
like where I stopped personally was at the ladders, like the one where you had to make the ladder move in a certain direction.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong, it's high quality. They achieved what they wanted to really well. But I would probably give it a 3.5. I enjoyed the experience, but it's not something I would necessarily play over again.
Yeah.
I probably have like the absolute, and I can't think of any right now, which is the thing. If there's any critiques, it's probably like the absolute smallest critiques you could ever give, which I'm fine if even if they didn't fix. And when those are your biggest critiques, ones that don't even really matter, that's when you know that it's pretty good. We introduced a new verdict in Arc 5, which was 0.5, the lowest of the low, pretty much. Before 0.5, I mean 0 out of 5. So on the complete opposite of the scale, I'm probably going to give this game a perfect 5 out of 5. It's a game that I want to add to the collection that I told you guys. If you saw Arc 4, the Rayman Legends episode. Rayman Legends is like, I called it for myself a near perfect game. I don't have a whole lot of critiques with that game. And there were a couple other ones too that were in that list. And I'm adding Limbo now to that list. And it's not just a 5 out of 5, it's a perfect 5 out of 5. It's so fucking good. The only critique I have of this game has nothing to do with the game. It has to do with me. Because I was too stupid to figure out some of the things. I had to look it up. And I didn't want to do it, but I was absolutely stuck. I didn't want to quit. You know, I'm not talking about you guys, but you guys kind of like, alright. And then you just kind of stopped. I didn't want to stop. I wanted to keep going, but I looked them up, and I shouldn't have done that. But
I hate looking at stuff for games.
I do too. I try not to do it ever, but when I'm just absolutely stuck with nothing.
Like, it's been a couple days, and I'm stuck on the same puzzle.
Yeah. Or when this has happened to me too when I'm trying to find a location. This actually kind of happened with Dark Souls. I was trying to find where the fuck Gwendolyn was at. It's like, I know he's somewhere over here. And I was like, okay, I didn't have to mess with the fucking elevator. And it's like, after that, it's like, I didn't see anymore. It's just like, okay, I know I have to mess with the elevator.
Yeah.
So that was it.
The funny thing is that now that we all know the puzzles and everything, going through, the game is a short game. We should have also said this first and foremost. This is a short game. If you know what you're doing, say...
Fit in probably an hour or two if you just really jam through it.
Yeah. There's no, not that I know of. People can find some crazy ass shit. Not that I know of. There is no real way to speedrun this game in terms of like making the boy go faster. You know, in terms of like.
You just don't die.
It's just don't die and try and do everything in a timely manner, and you can speedrun this game in about 50 minutes to an hour if you're really fast. That's just a rough estimate. But you get a lot. It's kind of like the first Crash Bandicoot. It's a short game if you know what you're doing, and everything is laid out for you easily. No tutorials, no nothing. It's about as perfect as a game as you can get when it's built like that. And it only gets super challenging near the end. Just like Meat Boy, where it's just, the first two levels are easy, everything else is hard. Like,
Yeah.
not so much. So the difficulty, the progression for the difficulty is good. The progression for you as a character going through is good. There's not much out of the way of the story, but it's all up to interpretation. The ending, which we won't really talk about here, is up to interpretation. It's just so goddamn good. So I mean,
So, yeah.
play it.
Yeah.
Stop watching. Go play it right now.
Although I have one thing.
Okay. After this, then we'll play it.
Like I said, my 3.5 rating is probably just maybe slightly biased since it is a puzzle game, and I love puzzle games. Don't get me wrong, but I usually like my puzzles incorporated with some other element. That's why I'm such a huge fan of Zelda, for example. And so, if you're not a fan of puzzle games, it doesn't matter that he rated it a 5 out of 5. It doesn't matter that he rated it a 4. If you don't like puzzle games, you're not gonna like this game. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
You have to at least have some form of enjoyment from puzzle games.
And attention. You have to
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
attention. Like the
Yeah.
patience for it.
Yeah, because like I said, some of them are hard. Some of them are hard enough that he had to look it up. You know what I mean? So if you don't have the patience for that, you won't enjoy this game. That's what I'm saying. Just because you don't enjoy it doesn't necessarily make it a bad game.
Yeah.
It just means you don't enjoy it. So just make sure if you do try this game that you have at least some kind of attention span for.
Yeah, keep an
puzzles.
open mind, pay attention to,
Yeah.
to what you're doing, you know, in the game and all that. And
Yeah.
come up with your own stuff. I don't think we have enough time. We wanted to do our own theories. I mean, you can do your theory really quick for how, for why the boy is in limbo. If
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Actually, we'll save that for after the. We'll save that for after the episode. Stay tuned at the very end of the episode after the end slate for his theory. But with that being said, I'm Marcelo,
I'm Weston.
I'm Chase.
and this was Trash Talk. See you guys later. Stay tuned after the end slate. Was that really necessary?
I couldn't get off my computer.